Hey all, it's Linda. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, this is one that I've been wanting to do for so long, but I am going to show you my entire eyeshadow palette collection. Now, I have been doing a lot of declutters this year, and I got rid of a ton of eyeshadow palettes this year. So pretty much everything that's in my collection is all stuff that I really enjoy, stuff that sparks joy for me, stuff that is a specific color story. So I'm actually really proud of my more curated collection. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I do still have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, but a lot of times when I watch other people's collections, they have like hundreds of palettes, and I'm definitely not there. So my collection is slowly becoming more and more curated and more like that I know I love every piece in there. And will I do declutters in the future? Of course I will. Will some of these be in future declutters? I'm sure they will, but as of right now, I'm really happy with all of them. So I want to talk to you about all of them. I'm going to show you each one. I'm going to talk to you about what makes it special to me. And I will link as much as I can down below. There's going to be a lot of palettes here, and a lot are going to be discontinued where you can't find them anymore. So I am sorry about that, but I do want to show you the entire collection. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, grab yourself a snack, and like cozy up because it's, cuddle season, and we are going to get right into this. But before we do, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Liquid IV. So at this point, I feel like you all have heard me talk about Liquid IV, but I'm actually addicted, I think I can say, to Liquid IV, and I guess to like hydration in general. I feel like hydration goes back to everything. Like if somebody is like, oh my God, I have a headache, I'm like, did you drink enough today? Are you dehydrated? If somebody is like, oh my God, I got a D on my math test, I'm like, were you hydrated when you took the test? Being hydrated is so important. Like everything in you functions better. You will be more alert. You will be more awake. You will just feel better overall. I definitely notice when I'm dehydrated, and whenever I am, that's kind of when I reach for my Liquid IV. Liquid IV comes in these convenient little sticks, and all you have to do is choose your flavor. I have a million flavors. I am like a pusher on my friends when they come over. I'm like, yo, you want yuzu pineapple? I'm sorry, can I get you some golden cherry? How about Concord grape? And Concord grape is what I went with today. That's what I was feeling in my soul. All you have to do is pour it into water and shake it or stir it up and drink. Liquid IV gives you 2 times faster hydration than water. I took these with me in my little fanny pack when I went to Disney World, and it was a game changer. It was 94 degrees each day, and we were walking like 10 miles a day. So just adding this to my water helped me hydrate faster and just made me feel better. And it made me feel like maybe I could walk that 11th mile if I didn't have a huge blister on my foot from already walking 10 miles in a day. Give me a break. I really do suggest these to everyone I know. I really do love Liquid IV. It just like, they are so many flavors, and I just really like the flavors too. They taste genuinely good. They don't taste too much like fake flavors. They taste really, really good. So if you want to try these hydration multiplier flavors, click the link down below, or you can use my code GlitterFallout for 20% off and free shipping. That's a huge discount, and trust me, you will not be sad. I am planning on gifting these to a lot of people. This is going in everyone's stocking because the holidays can like leave you running ragged because you're running from one house to the next, and you need to stay hydrated, okay? Stay hydrated, you beautiful thing. So go ahead, get yourself hydrated, use the link below, use my code, get yourself a discount, and let's get back into the video. Thank you so much again to Liquid IV for partnering on this portion of the video. Now, let's get into my collection. All right, I feel like we need to start with the brand I have the most palettes from, and that is Melt Cosmetics. I feel bad starting with a discontinued palette, but we have to look at this one. So this is the Vita palette that came out with the Amor Eterno collection. Absolutely love it. This color story is just so beautiful and inspiring to me. I feel like it is so vivid, and it's what makes me think of, a typical kind of Day of the Dead decorations where you have these kind of earthy colors and these brown, almost dirt tones, but then these vibrant, lively colors. It's so beautiful. This quality is what made me fall in love with Melt Cosmetics. I would say that this was the palette that really made me fall in love with them. You can tell it has been used and abused. This is such a favorite. Moving on, I feel like we need to talk about the OG. So this is the original Gemini palette. I have used and abused this as well, and you can tell that some of these colors had to even be pressed back into the pan. That's how incredibly messed up they were. They actually fell out. I've used this color almost till it's gone. This one is gone completely because it fell out. That was a problem with the original iteration of this palette, but this is my favorite color story that has ever existed, ever in all of time, and I feel like I can't talk about that one without bringing in the new Gemini palette as well. I do have both, and yes, by the way, you are going to find out I like to keep a lot of my eyeshadow palettes in their original packaging, and I know a lot of people get real mad about that for some reason, but I absolutely love doing it. I don't know, it makes it feel a little bit more bougie, but you can see the color story is exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's just that this one is definitely reformulated to be a bit better quality, so I do use both oddly, but this, again, this is my favorite eyeshadow palette of all time. I am not sad to have two of them. Luna, I'm so glad that I have another one of that because, again, it's one of my favorite colors, period. And you can tell polka dot, I keep dipping back into that. That's one of my favorites. And I'm so happy to have a reformulated Goals because that's amazing. But this grungy, dirty dream, still my favorite. I guess it's only fair if we bring their sister in. So this is the Gemini 2 palette that came out at the same time as the reformulated Gemini 1. This is so not my usual color story, but I just love this. I love how the tones are not too pink. I'm not a fan of pink eyeshadow on myself, but these kind of rose tones and these deeper burgundies and purples are just so beautiful. This color, Schmood, I absolutely just love it. It is just such a deep burgundy bronze, and then you compare it, or combine it rather, with the colors of like leaves and moss and just earthy tones. I feel like this is such a cohesive, beautiful color story that hadn't been done before. Really impressed with this. I really need to use this one more. If I'm being honest with myself, I don't use it nearly enough, but every time I see somebody do a look with it, I love it. So this palette, just love it. And now the palette that no one talks about and everyone needs to talk about. The Rust palette is so, so beautiful. And just, again, I feel like this one doesn't get enough love in the community. This is just a beautiful bronze, gold, grungy dream. I know I use the word grunge a lot when I'm talking about Melt Cosmetics, but it's for a reason, right? Look how grungy and dirty this is. Like, I love how the shimmers are not typical golds or typical bronzes. They are just these kind of like burnt colors, which again looks like rot. It looks like rust, you know, it looks like tarnish. But I just adore this color story. I think it's such a good one, and I think that this is what really brings out the blue in my eyes when I wear it. So if you have blue eyes, consider this palette. I feel like this could also even make a great bridal palette if you're going for like a smoky, sexy look. But my version of bridal is probably drastically different than a lot of people's version of bridal. But this color, Erode, oh, it's so beautiful. And yet another palette that I feel like doesn't get enough love. This is the MaryJane palette. And this is probably my one of my favorite cool toned palettes that I own, period. This, again, oh my gosh, a lot of people hated this palette. They absolutely hated it, but I love it. It's so cool toned, but in not too intimidating of a way, right? These shimmers are all so good. Now, I do know a lot of people say that they think they have to work harder at this palette to get it to work, and I understand that opinion. I really do. But if you're just gentle with these, just take your time because the payoff is so incredibly worth it. The mattes all blend like a dream. I think everyone can easily agree to that. But like, look how good this color story is. Again, you can tell I've used this palette to death. I just love it. And even this cover, like with the smoke and the glitter and the raised letters, like, oh, delicious. And then the redheaded stepchild that a lot of people feel of the Melt collection, the 420 palette. I really enjoy this palette. This, again, I will admit, I haven't used as much as I probably could / should, but I can't get rid of it, okay? Because the color story of this one, oh my God. Tell me if this doesn't look exactly like that pair of plaid pants that everyone owned in the 90s. That yellow pair that had the brown through it and the greens and the yellows. And yeah, it just, this is your plaid pants. This is Cher Horowitz's outfit from Clueless. Prove me wrong. I just really love this color story. Again, I feel like this is warm fall goodness, but it's not too warm. You still do have some of these cooler tones in there that add a grungy vibe to it, like Hash I really enjoy. And I feel like, did Melt come out this year with a 420 collection? Because I don't know that they did. I mean, in the past, they've had MaryJane and they had 420 and another one I'm about to show you, but I don't know if they did in 2022. So comment down below. I'm just maybe misremembering, but this palette definitely does take a bit more patience. I'm not gonna lie, but it's patience that I am willing to have for this color story. And the last 420 palette that I have from them is Smoke Sessions. This is my newest Melt palette. Is that right? Yes. This is my newest one that I only got, I think, in the beginning of this year, even though it's much older than that. And I don't know why it took me so long. This is a shimmer heavy palette, okay? We only have 8 shades and 6 of them are shimmers, but those shimmers are so intense and vibrant and foiled that it is an absolute dream. It is an absolute dream. This shade Sour Diesel is everything. It is that perfect dirty olive brown green. It's just amazing. And Granddaddy is an amazing, amazing gold sparkle. It is taking everything in me to not swatch each of these palettes right now to show you, but if I did that, we'd be here for 2 hours. So yes, if you love shimmers, if you love this color story, I would absolutely get this. And then we start having their Halloween releases. So this is the recently deceased palette that came out with the Beetlejuice collection. These are unfortunately discontinued, but like, look at this packaging. It was acrylic, you could see through here, and whenever you open it up, you get this film still, which of course I had to keep in there. I saw something where somebody threw theirs away like immediately, and I wanted to hurt them. But this palette is what I think of when I think of kind of Beetlejuice colors, those vibrant purples, those mustardy yellows, and those vibrant chartreuse greens. I really enjoyed this. I know a lot of people didn't like these palettes. I really, really enjoyed them. My only qualm with those is I feel like these 2 purples are too similar to each other, and so are these. I feel like we needed more variety in this purple line, but I absolutely love the rest of them. This shade Paranormal is such a beautiful foresty green shimmer. It's stunning. And all these colors, by the way, they all perform beautifully. It's just that I feel like they're a little too similar, but I still absolutely love this palette, both as a collector and a makeup user. And the sister to that is the Waiting Room palette. Now this palette I did not expect to love as much as I did. Again, same amazing packaging, but this time with the sandworm, and you still have the film still in it of this beautiful fancy lady. I did not think I'd like this palette, okay? I am not a silvery gray kind of girl, even though I'm wearing that look today. And I'm not even like a red burgundy kind of girl, but this palette just went so well together. And the quality was absolutely amazing, which kind of shocked me. Now, again, we do have some very similar colors. Tombstone and Shrunken Head are very similar. No Exit and Obituary are very similar. But it's not like half the palette is similar like in the last one. So I was not as upset with that, but the quality of this is so good. If you can get your hands on this one somehow, this is the one I recommend actually over the recently deceased. I think the Waiting Room was the tits. And the final Melt palette was this one, the Amor y Mariposas collection. I love the outside of this packaging. I absolutely hate the inside of this box, so I almost don't know why I kept it. The inside is lined with red kind of crushed velvet. I hate crushed velvet, but look how beautiful this packaging is. The foiled butterflies, just all of it, the heart with the thorns. It's just so beautiful, and I did rate this as my best palette of the year when it came out. This color story is so gorgeous, and it's so different from anything Melt has done before, you know, even just down to the round pans with the pressings of these beautiful butterflies. But I love how this is a matte heavy palette, but the colors work so well together, right? Doesn't it look just exactly like the front? The vibrant oranges and the greens and the reds and the pinks, just I feel like it goes so well together, and it is such a cohesive, beautiful, beautiful color story. I really loved this one, and I'm proud to have it. All right, let's move on to the next brand where I have the most palettes from that brand, and that is Kaleidos. So let's start with my very first Kaleidos palette, and it is this one. This is the Club Nebula palette that they did in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, and oh, Look at this packaging. It's just so beautiful. I wish they still had this. I wish more people could get their hands on this, but it is unfortunately discontinued. But this is another color story. I looked at it and I thought it was beautiful. I did not expect to love it as much as I do. It's just so, I don't know how to describe it. I want to say it's so sci-fi, but that sounds so strange to say when it's just a palette. But it is, right? I mean, you've got these kind of earthy tones, meaning like colors of the planet Earth, and then these deeper tones, and just, I don't know. I love this so much. I love how deep you can go with this end of the palette, but the shimmers are so beautiful and vibrant, and the quality is amazing that you can really kick up any look. It's just beyond inspiring to me, and I really adore it. Actually, one thing I will say about this, while the packaging, design is really pretty, I don't like how thick these are for the shadows. And I do have one other one like that, and that is this one, which is the Escape Pod palette. Really beautiful, and I haven't used this one nearly enough, but again, it's just very, very, very thick packaging, which kind of bothers me. I feel like that's a waste of packaging. You can see from the side here. So they did, they have changed their packaging a little bit, but this color story, I enjoy it a lot. I'm not sure if this is one I'm going to keep forever, but I do really, really love these shimmers. I really love these shimmers. I really love this bright, bright orange. But if I'm being honest with myself, there are a lot of colors in here I probably won't use as often. So I really do enjoy this palette, but the bulky packaging and also the fact that it is so neon has me not using it as much as I probably could if I put the time and energy into it. But yeah, this is still a really beautiful palette. Now this one. This is the Flower Punk palette. First of all, look at this beautiful outside packaging. Of course I had to keep this. You open it up and it opens up all the way to reveal a stunning, stunning palette with this imagery. And it's so cool because this whole top is magnetic. It is a mirror and it reveals probably one of my favorite color stories that I own. I love this color story so much. So yes, again, grungy tones. You've got these grungy, earthy tones, but it's balanced out with these florals, these pastels, and it just somehow goes so well together that it is just really an earth tone palette as a whole, right? I was so amazed because as soon as I saw this, I was like, that's one I absolutely have to have because it's just so unique to me. And I adore this. This is one that's still available, thankfully, and I recommend this so often. I adore this color story. I adore this packaging. Delightful little magnetic top there. So yes. Now these are some that are newer to my collection. So these came out with the Night of Creation collection, and I was surprised how much I loved both of these quads. So this first one is Glowing Iris, and then this is Flowing Haze. And they are both obviously purple taupe tones. Like I was blown away by how much I loved these. I thought that I would enjoy these. I didn't think I would love them. This shade right here is unlike anything in my collection, and I absolutely adore it. Actually, all these shades in this specific one in general, the Glowing Iris palette, is unlike anything I own. It really is. Let me make sure I have these packaged correctly. Oh my God, I don't. This is Flowing Haze. This is Glowing Iris. So forgive me, Flowing Haze is the one that's unique to my collection especially, but even this one as well. Look at this beautiful light purple and combined with that beautiful cool tone sparkly purple. Just so gorgeous, and I really do appreciate a quad where it's easy to create one singular look just from that palette. These are nice and travel friendly, but I also kind of love they're a little bit like squishy, so they just feel very safe. And yes, again, these are a bit thick, but I just love the color story. And then these two, even though these came out a bit ago, these are fairly new to my collection personally, and I'm already absolutely loving them. So this is Cold Brew and this is Black Jasmine. So Cold Brew, I haven't even used yet. I don't know why I said I'm loving them. Excuse me. This one I haven't even used yet, but I wanted to use this one first because I knew this one was more unlike something I would normally use. And I'm obsessed. This is what I'm wearing today. This is only what I'm wearing today. And it is just such a perfect smoky silver taupe eye. These grays are so sexy. I can't even describe how sexy they are. This is going to be an easy no-brainer for me. I am going to use this obsessively. And I feel, again, I know I just called the other one a bridal palette, but this could be a fantastic bridal palette, right? Oh, I got to touch one. I am barely touching these, and they are so creamy and so soft and so shimmery. Just amazing. Okay, one more. This is, look at that silver. Look at it. These, I adore them. I absolutely adore them. And just, I don't know, I'm excited to use this one, and I'm excited to use this one more. And look at how sexy this packaging is with the lace front. And oh God, I just love it. Kaleidos's attention to detail is next level. Okay, next let's talk about Nomad Cosmetics. So let's talk about my favorite Nomad palette to date. That is the Monteverde Cloud Forest palette. I adore this one. The color story just was so instantly inspiring to me. Look at this beautiful cover, and then oh, it is just a beautiful tropical rainbow. I keep using that word or that phrase to describe this palette, but that really is what it is. Like, look at this stunning green. This shade Green Mountain is beautiful. Can you tell I like greens? But even just these bright, vibrant colors, and to think that this is, you know, a good, amazing, cruelty-free palette, I don't know, it just makes me so happy to look at it. And playing with it, you can make a proper rainbow eye. You can take it down a little bit and use just more neutral colors. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's so beautiful. And one thing that you'll hear me say in general with palettes, I do prefer somewhat smaller palettes than this. Like, this is just, it can be a little overwhelming to me at sometimes, but I do still love it. And you'll see that the ones that I've kept in my collection that are bigger, I've kept them for a reason. Now, another big one I've kept is this one. So this is the Paradise Islands palette, and this is slightly similar to the other one, but definitely more muted, a bit more pastel, a bit more water. I don't know why I keep saying a bit more water, but that's what it feels like to me. It feels a lot more calming, whereas the other one feels alive and vibrant. This one feels very zen to me. And it is just such a beautiful mix of mattes and shimmers that I just really think all go together very, very well and just make up a fantastic color story. And they're just such great quality. Like, look at this. Look. Look at that beautiful, beautiful orange shimmer. That's one of my favorite colors in the palette, and that's the shade Moon. I just really enjoy it with the beautiful gold sparkle. But yeah, I really do enjoy the Paradise Islands palette. Now, the next two are newer to my collection. This came out fairly recently, this fall. So this is the Hudson Valley palette. And when I first opened this, I think I was kind of unimpressed by it, but I became impressed real fast because the quality is that good. And there are so many mattes. So you only have 15 shades in here, and only 3 of them are shimmers. So this is, again, a matte heavy palette, but it's so perfect for fall in that way, in those grungy tones, in these very, very earthy tones. I love this shade, Great Pumpkin Patch, which is an orange-based brown, which I think is fantastic, and it goes so well with Fall Festival and a little pop of like corn maze. Oh, it's really an interesting color story to me, a very interesting color story. And yes, there are some shades in here I will probably rarely use, like apple picking or, you know, nah, that's it, just apple picking. But I really enjoyed this color story. I do want to play with this one more as well. And this is the newest palette I have from Nomad. This is the Santa's Village palette. It is quite new. Now, look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I am not getting along with this palette. I have used it 3 or 4 times now. We just don't get along. These shimmers, which are apparently meant to be top coats, are very hard pressed. As you can probably see, like, I've only used it 3 or 4 times, and they are so hard pressed that it's so hard to like get anything off of them. I didn't love this one, so this one will probably go in a declutter fairly soon. But I do know that some people have made beautiful looks with this, so maybe it was just my palette. Some people have really gotten good looks out of it, but this was not my favorite of the Nomad palettes. Next, let's chat about my good friend Natasha Denona. So we're gonna start with the OG. This is my baby. So this is the Sunset palette. This was the first Natasha Denona palette I ever purchased, and I have not regretted it for a second. Is regretted it a word? But I have not regretted it for a second. This is a warm toned sunset dream, and it's still one of my favorite palettes, one of my favorite color stories of all time. I know a lot of people think that maybe Natasha Denona is not worth the price because this palette is $129, or actually the price might have gone up. I think it's worth every penny because of the ease of the quality of shadows. They blend very easily together for me personally. The shimmers are instantly pigmented. They play nicely together. It's very easy to create a cohesive look with these. I adore this palette. Every time I look at it, I get like swooning. I'm a little swoony over here, but yes, this is my first baby and will never go anywhere. So the only other large Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette I have is this, which is the gold palette. Unfortunately, this is discontinued. This is one where as soon as I found out that it was being discontinued, I ran to Sephora and bought the last one, and I don't regret it for a second. I love this color story. I love it so much because, yes, obviously it's called the gold palette. You're going to have these shimmery golds and the browns to complement it, but you also have duochromes. You have these deep blues that I definitely haven't played enough with. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing a video where I play with some of these blues, but just in general, the color story is just so beautiful to me, and it is Natasha Denona quality. So it is a more expensive palette again, and if you can get your hands on it, I highly suggest it. I know this is kind of the one that got away for a lot of people, and also this one does pop up once in a while on Sephora where they find magically a box of these somewhere. So keep an eye out if this is one you're interested in, but like the mattes are just so creamy and beautiful. I'm not going to swatch anymore because I'm getting everything dirty, but I really love it. Now I only have one midi palette, and that is this one, which is the bronze palette. And I talk about this too much. I know I do, but I love it. It is one of my favorite palettes of all time. It is one of the palettes I use most often in the world because of, yes, it is beautiful neutrals and everything like that. But these bronzes, I love this shade Deep Dive, which looks black maybe on camera, but it has a bit of like brown burgundy to it, bronze, that really helps to brighten up a look. And I know it's weird to say a black brightens up a look, but you know what I mean. And this color, you can probably tell, is the one that has the biggest dip. This is Silk, and it is just, okay, I'm gonna do this one. Look at this. Oh my goodness, look at how metallic it is. And they're so soft and just like buttery smooth. And okay, one little swatch. Look at it. That is one of my favorite eyeshadow colors I own, and it is in this palette. Like, I almost feel like the whole palette's worth it just for this shade. So you should pay whatever it is, $69, I think it is, for that one shade. Don't do that. Don't do that. But all of these colors, even, okay, one more. Let's go for True Copper. I don't think people understand enough how good this palette really is. Like, look at how metallic these are. Okay, they're beautiful, we get that, but even the mattes, they blend lovely with each other. Beach, I have a huge dip in over here. This is just a fantastic palette. I'm gonna call this a neutral because this is kind of a neutral for me, but really beautiful. And then finally for Natasha Denona, we've got this little tiny baby. I always forget, this is the mini Nude palette. I always want to say this is the mini Glam, but it is the mini Nude. And we just have 5 little baby shades that I just dug my finger into. Great. But these are very small, and I take this everywhere with me. Like, this is my travel palette because it's so damn easy. You've got so many looks within this one palette, and it's just so easy to figure out what goes where. I think that this is a fantastic gift for anybody. I believe these are $29 each now. They used to be $25. And they're just amazing quality. They are such amazing quality. So this is a fantastic gift if you have that friend who maybe just, you know, wears the same makeup every day. You know, they don't really experiment much with their makeup, but this is like an upgraded kind of bougie version of what they might use every day. I just love the mini Nude. Now, this is easily the newest brand overall to my collection, but in just the past few months, I've gotten 3 palettes. So let's start with this. It is my very first time trying Glamlight in the past few months, and I have been blown away. And this was the palette that started it all for me. So this is the Glamlight and Mikayla Path Two palette. Every time I say it, I feel silly. But like, first of all, look at the packaging with this beautiful, like, it almost looks like gold rocks, gold ore in there. I just absolutely love it. But the color story is just a jewel-toned dream. I adore this color story so much. It is so inspiring to me and exciting to me. It's actually exciting to me. And again, the quality, oh, I do have to swatch it, don't I? I do. Let's only swatch one. We'll just swatch. Look at this beautiful quality. And I was going to say for the price, but for any price, this quality is so, so gorgeous. And again, it's just a color story that inspires the hell out of me, which is really, really nice because, you know, sometimes when you've been doing makeup for a long time, when you've been enjoying makeup for a long time, it's hard to get as inspired. And this really did it for me. And the quality is brilliant. Again, I've mentioned this before, I don't love larger palettes. But when every single color is different from each other, like sure, we could, you know, pull hairs here and say that maybe these two are kind of similar. What else? Maybe these two are slightly similar, but everything else I really feel like is different and on its own. I was blown away, and this is what made me fall in love with Glamlight. And then I'm going to talk about these two together. These are the newest palettes to my collection. This is the Glamlight and Scooby Doo collab. We have the Creeps and Crawls and the Rut-Row Raggy. Oh, I ripped the box. No. I love these. Even this as a color story would be kind of cool, but I prefer these 10-pan palettes. I prefer a more compact color story. I just adore these. I adore the color stories. I like how they're different from each other. And with these, no two shades are the same. No two shades are even similar to each other. They're just so different and beautiful. I love, you know I love this color. You know I love that dirty olive green, okay? That dirty chartreuse. But even this purple palette and this purple vibe with these blues and teals, they just go so well together. And even as a color story as a whole, like I said, so well together. The quality is, again, Glamlight quality. It is brilliant. It is beautiful. The shimmers all feel like wet to the touch. They are just so creamy and so metallic that this is hands down one of my best palettes of the year, my best 2 palettes of the year. So stay tuned for my palette ranking. I have a feeling these are going to be high up. We are now going to look at the oldest palette in my entire collection. It's the OG Urban Decay Naked palette that you can pry out of my cold dead hands, okay? I still love this palette. I still use this palette. And yes, I know you probably shouldn't use palettes that are this old, and I don't even care, okay? This shade in Naked is my favorite eyeshadow shade of all time, and it is the most boring beige ever, but it is exactly like the shade of my eyelids, so I use this so often. The shimmers are still beautiful. Now, I do think that makeup has improved over the years. I do think that our shimmers and metallics have improved. I do think that there is better quality than what we have right here, but it doesn't mean I don't still love this. And honestly, a lot of the reason I keep this is definitely nostalgia. This is the first eyeshadow palette I can ever remember going viral, where everyone needed it, including me. So I just still absolutely love this one, and I don't think I could ever see myself getting rid of it. Now, I've had a lot of the Naked palettes over the years. I really have. I had the Cherry, I had Ultraviolet, I had Cyber, and I wound up decluttering all of those and passing those on to friends. But the one that I cannot get rid of is this, okay, as far as a full-size Naked palette. The Urban Decay Naked Honey is still one of my favorite palettes of all time, and this is one that I feel like I've convinced so many people to buy this because of how beautiful it is. The color story is pure, warm honey. It is just dripping in those warm tones and the vibrant shimmers, but you've got just such a neutral color story that I feel like works and brightens up any eye color. You've got just, I don't know, I'm just always so happy with this palette every time I use it. The shimmers on this one were so improved and just really, really beautiful. I don't know why I chose the darkest one here. It'll be difficult to get off, but that bronze is so lovely and just metallic. I absolutely love it. That shade is Queen. It's one of the ones I really enjoy. But this palette is always on sale for 50% off. So I would never tell anyone to pay full price for this. But if you can get this for 50% off at $24.50, buy it. You will not look back. You will not be upset. I love this palette. And then my final Urban Decay palette is another Naked palette, but it is a baby one. This is one of their minis that just came out fairly recently, and this is the Sin palette. Let me tell you, I was expecting to think this was okay, maybe use it once or twice for a tutorial, maybe never again. I use this so often and bring it with me everywhere. This is another one of those that I bring with me on vacation and suggest to everyone how great of a gift this one makes. Again, this is the Sin palette, the mini Sin. You've got a cohesive color story here, very easy for anyone, even a makeup novice, to make such a great look out of this just using this palette alone. But if you are a makeup connoisseur, you can create something nice and beautiful and bold with it because you've got these deep shades, you've got these intense shimmers. It just really is beautiful, and I feel like these slipped under the radar, but this is one of my favorite palettes that I own, oddly, and I really enjoy it, and I was not expecting to. This was a sneak attack dark horse over here. So the next brand I want to talk about is Kaja, and I want to talk about these. These are the Beauty Bentos, and I've discussed these before, but what the Beauty Bentos are stacked eyeshadows. You get 3 in a stack. So for example, this one has a neutral tone here, matte, a slightly deeper neutral tone, and a deep neutral tone, okay? And all of their palettes, by the way, are quite neutral. But then you've got this baby. And look at that beautiful, beautiful shimmer on this one. You've got another gorgeous taupey shimmer, and you've got a matte. So with all of these, you can create these cohesive eye looks that are just fantastic. And besides, they make a great noise. So satisfying. But I really love the stacks. And I will say that Kaja was kind enough. They sent me this set of stacks on stacks, which includes all of their beautiful bento eyeshadow stacks. But I have left the labels on these. You can see that they still have labels on them because I think that I want to give a lot of these away as presents this year for the holidays. These make fantastic gifts. First of all, they are so small and so compact, which I absolutely love, so they don't take up space in someone's makeup bag, because a lot of people, they don't have makeup storage systems like I do. They just have a bag, and I really do love these. The quality is amazing on all of them, and I am tempted to probably keep maybe two of them, because this one is looking beautiful, that color story. But like, for example, this berry one, I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use this one. I know that for sure. So I don't know, I love these. I recommend them to everyone, and I am thankful to have it. Now, I do have one other product from Kaja. Now, this is technically not an eyeshadow palette, but it is what I use it for. So again, we do have this stack, and this, I believe, was meant to be a highlighter palette, but I've never used it for that, because look at this. Oh God, that icy, glittery blue-white is so stunning, and this one is such a gorgeous champagne color on me, but both of these would be kind of weird as highlights on my skin tone, and especially this one as well. This could maybe be beautiful on a deeper skin tone, but on me, this is just a beautiful eyeshadow. It's bronze, but there's a slight blue-green shimmer to it. So I just think that these are 3 very unique shades. Not many people talked about this, but I really think this is worth talking about. I love this Viva Shine Trio, especially this champagne color. All over the lid by itself and out the door, beautiful. Next, let's talk about Shroud Cosmetics. So I only have 2 palettes from them, and they are both the collaborations with Batty Bean. This at the time was Butte Bean, but same person, Batty Bean, Betty Jean. So this is the very first palette. This is the It's Freakin' Bats palette. Oh, and this color story had my heart. Look at that. It is, and I don't usually love as many cool tones, but this one got me. And you can tell Trappa is my favorite color, that like chartreusey color, but also Grim, this dark teal shimmery is stunning. Handbook, all of these. The only color I didn't agree with as much is Derry. I found that was a little bit patchy and hard to work with, and actually Spooky as well was a little bit patchy for me at times, but everything else was so above and beyond that I didn't even mind, excuse me. And then the newest palette, the Hallobean, might be one of my favorite palettes of all time now. This is a Halloween dream right here. So you do have some beautiful shimmers and some gorgeous mattes, but this color story as a whole was so inspiring to me and so beautiful that I have used it so many times. I don't know if you could tell how used and abused this one is as well. I just adore it. I adore it so much, and I really think that if you like oranges and warm tones and even the grungy, if you like this color story, buy it. I know that sounds stupid, but just, it's so beautiful. The quality on this one I feel is better than the It's Freakin' Bats quality. I'm just gonna say it, and I think that this one shines superior. Let's move on to ColourPop. So starting with the So Jaded palette, this unfortunately was discontinued. Both of my ColourPop palettes, notice I said both because I only have 2 left, are discontinued, but Every time I try to declutter this one, I just can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it because I love it so much. So again, you do have this jewel tone vibe to it, but then you've got these warm neutrals. The pressed glitters even are beautiful. You've got a multi-chrome. Just, I think that this was such a cool palette and it did so well. So I'm bummed that you can't get this now because I do think that this was such a great palette, and the quality of this is one of the best ColourPop qualities I've ever tried, hands down. Not quite better than the other palette I'm going to show, but I do still love this palette and I'm happy to have it. And then my absolute favorite ColourPop palette of all time. This is the At Forest Sight palette that they did with Raw Beauty Christie. This is earthy, mossy, hippie woods goodness in the best way possible. I just adore all the deep tones here. And yes, you can obviously lighten up any look with these shades here, but I love how sexy of a deep and smoky look you can make with this while still keeping it bright, if that makes sense. It's not blacks and dark browns and grays. You've got just these colors that are vibrant and just stunning. And the quality of this is the best one from ColourPop that I have personally tried. So God, I wish that they would bring this back. I feel like Christie would be happy if they brought this back. Can we all like make a campaign to get ColourPop to bring this back? Because I want you all to have this. And now the rest of my eyeshadow palettes are all one-offs. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's start with this baby. So this is the Sugar Pill Pro palette, and this is a very old baby. You can tell this packaging is so old, but this is when you couldn't choose your colors in here and you just had to go with exactly what they wanted you to have as a palette. And I still love this as a rainbow palette and will never get rid of it. This is all mattes, obviously, and this is my favorite rainbow palette that I have. It is so gorgeous, and you can tell the shades that I have used to death. Fun fact, when my hair grows out and I have roots, sometimes I will put this shade, which is Love Plus, on my roots. Yeah, that's what I do. But anyway, I just really love it. Sugar Pill's quality has just gotten better and better over the years. This is one of their first iterations, and I still think it's amazing. This is another one that is discontinued, and I am so sad about it. First of all, look at this packaging. I feel like this is one of the most luxe pieces of packaging I own. This is the Tarte Foil Finger Paints. It looks so unassuming, but these are the creamiest shimmers I've ever felt. And they look like little boobs, which I kind of like, right? Little boobs, great. But they are just so incredibly creamy, and just the color payoff with barely touching it is so beautiful that I don't understand why this didn't go further, because it's just so wet looking right off the bat with no adhesive. I don't understand it. Even these pressed glitters are just so shimmery and stunning. Like, I'm so sad that this palette has been long gone because it was just such great quality. And again, the packaging with this like sea glass feel on it, so good. Also very interesting to me, yes, I do keep all the packaging. Very interesting to me that this is the only Tarte palette I have anymore because I used to have so many. I wound up decluttering all of them. These are all going in no specific order, but as far as Adept goes, this is my only palette from Adept. It is the Heather Austin palette. Heather is a friend of mine, but it doesn't even matter because I'm not going to lie about how much I love this palette so much. Oh my God, I love it, I love it, I love it. Even if she wasn't my friend, I would talk endlessly about this palette and how beautiful it is. How these shimmers are some of the creamiest shimmers I've ever felt in my life. How the mattes blend seamlessly with each other. I just can't believe they are able to pack this much pigment and shimmer into these shades. Like barely touching, look at that. Like it is unlike any other I've ever seen, and it is worth every freaking penny. Look at that shade. It's so shifty. So many of these shades are incredibly shifty. You know, we're getting towards the end, so I can do multiple swatches. And just look at that. Oh, God. They are just really, really beautiful. This whole palette is stunning. It is just a home run, hits it out of the park. Congratulations to Heather, but this one will never leave my collection. Yet another that will never ever leave my collection is this, the Heal palette by Odensai and Angelica Nyqvist. Oh gosh, are you ready for this one? Look at this color story. Again, this one is so earthy to me, and I love these earthy tones. and combining it with like the floral type colors and these shimmers that are so intense and so metallic that they just punch you in the face basically in the best way. Soot, by the way, is a dark purple that I want the dairy color in the It's Freakin' Bats palette to be. It is so pigmented and so easy to blend. Now I'll admit these pinks, they don't get used as much as they could because I'm not a pink girl, but everything else is a hell yeah. Now this palette is the only one I own by Colored Rain, and it is the Vivid Pigments palette. And the more I think about it, the more I think that this might wind up in a declutter at some point soon, because when I want a rainbow palette, I reach for Sugar Pill. I don't reach for this one as much as I used to. And it's such good quality. It is such fantastic quality. The colors are so beautiful. They are all matte. They have everyone that you could possibly need, except interesting. There's no red in here, I just realized. And also, what do they have against a white and a black shadow? I would enjoy that, but this really is amazing quality. And if you're looking for an all-in-one, I do still recommend this, but I wonder if that'll stay in my collection in the next year. Here's one that's in my collection purely for nostalgia's sake. I do not use it anymore, I'll be honest, but this is the Divine and Kat Von D palette. If you don't know, I do live in Baltimore. I have a very high affinity for Divine. I love Divine. I love John Waters. So this palette just really spoke to me. You can tell these are broken to hell, but the names of them, I'm sorry, but Baltimore, Waters, Filthy, Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, Hairspray, Babs, all of these. It's so fantastic. And I think Divine would be very proud of this palette. And I kind of can't get rid of it. I can't believe I only have one palette from this brand, but e.l.f., this is the only one I have. So this is one of their bite-sized palettes. You can tell how tiny it is. And this is in the shade Hot Jalapeno. The quality of this is so much better than I ever expected. The mattes blend together so well. And these shimmers are just so vibrant and metallic. And to think of how inexpensive this is and how wet looking that is, I just was so surprised by the quality of this. And the mattes are beautiful, obviously, as well. I'm not going to swatch them because they're harder to get off, but just in general, if you have a chance to pick up this one, I believe it's still $3. $3. Go grab this. From Juvia's Place, I only have this one that I've been hanging on to. And it's interesting because I've always talked about this palette and said that it was one of my favorite neutral palettes. And it's still so beautiful. But I also wonder if this one might wind up in a declutter at some point too, because I haven't been reaching for it, but it is such good quality. Like, look at this shade. It is almost gone. That's how much I've used it. This one, if I used it once, I would probably hit pan. That's how deep it is. Same thing with this shade. This shade, there's a little bit of pan showing. I have used the heck out of this guy, and I still think it's beautiful, and it's warm toned, and the shimmers are lovely, but I just haven't been reaching for it as much. So that's very interesting to me. And yet another rainbow palette. So this is the Ugly palette by It's Likely Makeup, or just Likely Makeup. This one is so interesting to me though, and I'm not going to get rid of this probably ever. I love the bright, vibrant mattes, but these shimmers are all meant to be sort of top coats for the mattes. So let's see if I can show you. Let's do blue, for example. So you would put on your matte color, and then on top of it, you would put the top coat, right? So you can either go, obviously, with this shimmery blue. Look how lovely that is. Put the green on top. They're just kind of made to transform each other, which I think is really cool. And if you blend it right there in the center, like, look at that. I feel like this is a palette that encourages you to play and experiment, and I really appreciate that. So this is definitely just, I love having this in my collection. Give Me Glow Cosmetics. I have the Juicy Olive palette, which is a monochromatic olive toned palette, as it says, and it is brilliant. First of all, these shades are huge. These are really large shades, and even though there's only 6, the color story you can create with them is so beautiful. I love this for a smoky eye. This makes my eye color pop like crazy. I just really love this. If you're into olive tones, really look into this one. I think that this is a good one. And the very last palette. This has unfortunately been discontinued, but this is the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. Oh God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Are you ready? Look at that. I feel like Charlotte Tilbury is a very big fan of pink tones, and this only has very few of them. So that's why this palette and I really got along well. But look at this olive green smoky section. Look at these warm fire tones. Look at that perfect black. It is stunning. And the colors are super pigmented, which I feel like past Charlotte Tilbury palettes have not been. So this one really, really surprised me. This was quite, pricey, and I think really worth the money. Just beautiful. Y'all, if I look tired, it's because that took over 2 hours to film. So I hope you enjoyed seeing my whole eyeshadow palette collection. It was really interesting for me personally to go through all of those because I found some that I am willing to declutter, I think, for my next declutter. And I was convinced that everything in my collection was staying forever and ever, and that was the end all be all. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can probably like weed a few of those out. So I think that's really interesting. So I encourage you, go through your entire makeup collection and really be honest about what you think you can get rid of. I am holding on to those, I'm not gonna lie, for at least a little bit, and seeing if maybe I'm like, you know what, before I declutter it, let me try to use it. Maybe I will fall in love with it all over again. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun looking through my collection. Thank you again so much to Liquid IV for sponsoring this video. Again, my coupon code, the link to purchase any Liquid IV for yourself, is in the description box down below. And let me know what your favorite flavors are, because I feel like there's a few I haven't tried yet and I need to try them all. If you liked this video, it would mean the world to me if you would give it a thumbs up or share it or comment. Any of those things really do help out my channel. You all can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are all GlitterFallout. And as always and forever, you are super freaking rock stars. I love you so much with my whole heart, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.